Hi, Warriors. It's 8 o'clock EST, and it's time for Blake and me. How's everyone doing? Dollar's weaker, even though yields are up. Metals, gold making a new high here with divergence. So, how's everyone doing? Ingmar, are you doing good? Mike, Steve, hi, Blake, Bran, James, Arno, welcome to Face. How do you find us? KM, welcome to Face. Hi, Hugo, Marcus, John Hawkins. Oh, Ryan's late again. Okay. Hi, Simon. Nice to see you in here. Okay. So let me get rid of this. Just take a quick look at yields. They're relentless. They don't want to give up. There's TLT. All right, so this was the level I was looking at that it had to hold. If we start taking out 88, we could have a full-blown retest here. So basically 93 to 88 is 5. Subtract 5 from, this was like a breakout line. Boom. Here's a 10-year solidly this time above 434. So you have that happening as well. And even though that's happening, check this out. I had this black line in here for, as an important level that it hit. And then you even look at the daily. So I was looking at this last night. I didn't pull the trigger to buy it because I thought, maybe we could at least get to 38% if it took this support out. But look what it held. So it held this pivot, this level, and the 200. So, underneath this, it's vulnerable for maybe halfway back, but not, no guarantee it's going to come back down. Even Aussie is up today, trying to grind higher, and the yen again making a new high here, taking out the 51 level and doing it, just marginally. It's it's hard for me to short it until I really know what yields are doing. We'll see if TLT holds. The other feature is the S&Ps really gave up the ghost yesterday. They're coming in a little better. Important to see it almost filled the gap. It didn't fill the gap. So pretty important level here. We start closing back under the 680. You're talking about, back down there. The lows are taking them out. The weakest stock yesterday was Nvidia, and it gave me so much in 24 hours. I took it, but this could still be headed for new lows or dig its heels in, and this is maybe A, and this is A, B, C for B, and that we could still have a C wave. Apple failed right from 38%. See this? So, it could have been enough, this bounce, we don't have to get, it's even, weaker. I think the top of Blake's flag held on this. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right here. It's an, important levels, but the feature being yields. I think this is significant because look how many times it tried and then had a false breakout to, so after people tried it here and they saw this and then they see this, they go, oh, I'm not going to be faked out again, right? And then this time it goes and they end up being right the market, wrong the trade. But you could be wrong the trade and just, how I say, probe, take partials and protect the remainder. You know what else you need to be? I know I've had to do it. I do it. and it usually pays off, is when you have conviction about a trade and your timing's off on the first attempt. Doesn't mean that you don't do it again. All right. Another P is you have to be persistent, and be able to come back into a trade that you may have been shaken out of if it's still intact, your technical scenario. Everyone with me on that? It's not easy to do. Typically what people do is they'll have an unsuccessful trade in one instrument and they'll say, well, I'm just going to leave that alone for a while and look for another instrument to do the same thing about being right the market, wrong the trade. So, you can be wrong the market, wrong the trade, but if you're right the market and you just get taken out of a trade, doesn't mean that you don't reattempt it. So just something I've learned in the last 100 years. Good morning, Ryan. Do you have a note?
Morning, mate. Do I have a note? Oh, I'm at one of those days, when you can't catch up with yourself.
Don't tell me the dog ate your homework. Where is it? Huh?
I ate homework.
Uh,
I ate homework.
the wind blew it out of your hand.
Yeah, like
And
my
you
hair.
chased it. You chased it for blocks, but it just kept
Went in the
flying
river.
away.
Yeah, went in
Sorry,
the river.
teacher. Anyway, Mr. FX Lifestyle, you got the hold that you needed to have in Euro. You think this is all it's going to give us? This is what, I don't even know if it's 23%. I think it may be 23. Yeah,
Yeah, there or thereabouts.
107.70. It went
Yeah,
under 23, but didn't get to 38.
yeah. Which
So,
is 106 is something. Yeah,
yeah, 106.64, which is where this comes in. You
yeah.
still think this could happen? Or this was it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the key for me, as you know, I've been banging on about it for the last 3 weeks, was my zone 108.30, 108.70. And I think it was Tuesday, we held 108.30 on the nose. And from then, it's been downhill ever since. So that to me was pretty much the crunch time. And I've been saying a lot of eyeballs were looking at 107.60.
Yeah,
The last week or so. And I even had a bid in there, I think again on Tuesday at 65. We didn't quite get there. But you
yeah,
know what? It was one of those moments where the price only got down to about 70, 75. And you
yeah,
think everyone's been eyeing up that 107.60. Everyone's parking up ahead of it in the 70s. So I thought if that 70s goes, that 60s is going to fly through. And look, that big fat red candle is that exactly what happened.
yeah.
It went through. I've actually been stopped on my 105s now at 107.45. So I'm out my longs from down there because I didn't want to give that
Great
too
hold, Ryan. Great hold. Let me
much.
ask the community, what's the longest you've held a position since New Year's? Because I'm betting that Ryan held this longer than anyone out there, because I know how tough it is to make holding positions a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It takes really, uh, getting
I've,
used to be. You have to be willing to give back profits to be there for holds. And
yeah.
I know I have a hard time with giving back profits.
Yeah.
They're
I've been in.
they're so fleeting.
Yeah, exactly. You got to hold them when you've got them, haven't you? You got to try
Yeah,
and push them as far as they go. I've been in my Aussie Kiwi since late last year. Dolly
my goodness.
one,
Yeah,
even dollar one. We were talking about that. Mid of
long
last year.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, I just don't. Me, I don't like giving up a winning trade. Try and
yeah,
push it and push it, and unless I get hit on my trailing stop,
yeah,
and usually if that happens, it means something has changed in the market. So
yeah,
I'm usually happy to get hit. But as far as the euro goes, is it out the woods? I don't think it's going to collapse unless we get some further bad news. I think it's got a chance of moving back, but if we hit that 38.2 in the euro or even the 107 level, which is a big level,
yeah.
and bounce from there, then we could still go on to make new highs. So I don't think we're done with the upside just yet. until the price action said otherwise.
Comment on yields breaking out over this level, 10-year.
Yeah, it's again, I don't really know what's going on with this. It smells a bit like a risk move, but I don't know. I don't know. It's not
I
anything
mean,
to do with the data. It's not because everyone's suddenly thinking rates are going to be cranked up even higher or anything like that. So I'm really at a bit of a loss at the moment. What's going on with yields?
there's so much inconsistency because the bonds did okay last week during or the week before during the sell-off. Okay, they
Yeah,
held, they ran, they the 10-year didn't give back much, but TLT had a nice move. We went from here to here, but now we're in the same scenario where both bonds and stocks, I guess, could be bearish trends both,
yeah.
um,
Is it month end?
bullish trends both. I'm not sure.
Yeah, is it just month end? You
Yeah,
just don't know. You just don't know. But it is a bit of, and when I can't get a handle on why something's moving, I tend to not ignore it, but I'm not going to use that as any sort of trading indicator because I don't understand it.
yeah. I mean, they say never sell a sleeping market. God, look, we've been in this range since 2022, the
Yeah,
fall, pretty much this range, right? And
exactly.
and this period, it keeps getting quieter and quieter. Something's going to happen. I mean, the move index has been moving up a little bit. You ever use it? Someone told me to watch the move index when you're trading bonds. Do you use it,
It's
Blake?
it's it's the volatility indicator for bond market. It's
Yeah.
like looking at the VIX if you're looking for volatility in stocks. Same thing.
Oh,
It doesn't tell you that
direction.
yeah, the direction. It's more of it's like things are picking up. So
Yeah.
if you trade fixed income, you've got to be looking at the move index.
Look how it's compressing, just like almost looks like the TLT chart. Same thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
compressing. So I don't know what the big surprise is. I heard there was a lot of geo stuff happening yesterday, but besides hitting Yemen, Israel hit Hezbollah and Lebanon, and they're still at it with Hamas, and um, they're planning operations in Iraq. And I don't know if you heard it, Blake, but we're going to have three major battleships there. We already may have already had one or two, but another one is being sent, or two, and we're going to have three aircraft carriers there. That to me, I think that um, maybe what happens sometimes is when you fall into recession, you take people's attention off that uh, with war.
Yeah, I mean
That's
that's
what
the
something we
that's the biggest thing though, right? Just to divert,
diverge. So I think
divert.
something's going down there now. I thought there'd be one more break in WTI, and I just would buy calls. I wouldn't
It does
buy
look
future.
bullish. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think it's already turned
I closed the pattern and
right
play
here?
long yesterday, but I still think there's more in it. I'm more worried about risk aversion percolating, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, next thing you know, you look at crude and it's like 4% lower, and you're like,
Yeah.
shit. I think that's the risk. But I mean, look at commodities. I was just talking with Chris Weston last night. I mean, between copper, crude, gold, you just look at
Yeah.
some pockets of commodities. They look strong. I mean,
Oh
I
yeah.
I, I wouldn't want to short it, but I guess you have to be kind of defensive if you're going to play it long.
All right. So lastly, I've been talking about gold would make a new high and that we'd stay under 70. Well, here we are. It's the divergence. It the RSI pattern needs gold to come off to not get blown out. So it is the first time since we started this advance that we're not confirming. Doesn't mean, what it really means is if you're long, it's a take profit signal more than, okay, I'm going to be a cowboy and short it. But all I could say to you, Blake, and to you, Brian, and to all our attendees is Yahoo!
Yeah, it's I would not be wanting to stand in front of gold, but at the same time, Ryan's been pretty good at saying, just make sure if you're gonna try to trade gold on the and fade it, keep your stops tight, and we
Yeah,
really realistically want to see a lower high and lower low. I
yeah.
mean, it hasn't started even that pattern, and
Yeah, I just threw a money stop in like $15. That's it. So
yeah,
anyway,
I mean, if you're going to do it, that's, I guess that's it. If you get run over, you get run over. I mean, that's
yeah,
part of trading, right? I mean, it is.
yeah, I,
I want to talk about, I want to go back a little bit and just discuss the euro, because the euro dollar is doing exactly what we thought it would do. It, pivot off of this 107.30, and this is the 200 DMA, Coach, you pointed out earlier. It's also the 38% retracement, 161% extension of this range. And I mapped it all out on the week ahead video last Friday, that we'd be buying there. And obviously, if you're a Forex Analytics subscriber, you got the pattern in play yesterday to be on the long side there. And if you are in the trades room, you can just go to yesterday at right after the tariffs were, being announced. I started buying the euro, and I because it was so aggressive, I already got hit on my first order, and I put an order a little bit lower because I was like, well, maybe in Asia they're gonna, swipe us a little bit lower than that. It ended up not happening, so I didn't get as long
yeah,
as a position as I wanted, but I got out of my position at 107 or excuse me, 107.68. I reloaded well, then I got out of more positions there, but then I reloaded overnight at 107.56. Mo's like, how did you top tick that or bottom tick that? And I'm like, well, I had orders in different areas because as I told everybody in the chat room, the euro low is in. This is last night. I'm like, the euro low is in. Now it's just trying to buy a dip overnight. And I was hoping I'd get filled on more. But remember, this is a double top that everybody was calling. And my, 2 cents is we're not going to complete it because this is such an impulsive move that we weren't going to reach for it. I didn't think we were going to reach for it. We still possibly could, but you can see the euro right now. It's already pretty well bid, and the example that I used is it's like a big freighter that's turned. You have real money guys coming through buying the euro now, and that's shifting. And so these dips are going to be shallow. So you gotta be able to kind of think like them, but think how they're trying to position themselves. And these are important concepts for you to learn over time that Ryan, Dale, myself, we've developed over, decades of experience. That's why you got to be in the Forex Analytics chat room, and you can get to the chat room right here, and you don't have to follow what I'm doing or what Simon's doing or what Mo is doing, or Ryan or any one of us that are posting in the chat rooms. You don't have to do that. Even K-Man's in Japan posting what he's doing inside the chat room. You don't have to follow us per se, but understanding why we're buying the euro at 107.30, or understanding why we are fading this move as it's dropping. I just saw comments in just a moment ago where John says you called the top in the dollar and it's a big turn. I think the dollar dynamics have changed. If you guys
yeah.
think that when stocks go down, the dollar is going to rally, you haven't been listening, and you haven't been listening to what the market's telling you first and foremost. But you're stuck in that last 2 decades of Pavlovian response of that. But it's the dynamics are really shifting in the markets, and you have to be cognizant of that. I think there's going to be two-way price action in the markets, but be very, very careful about about the shifts that we're seeing, the tectonic shifts underneath the markets. Anyway, I wanted to go on a little bit of a rant today because, I know people are getting wrong-sided because news came out yesterday, 25% tariffs on autos. That's a big number. It's a big number. That's more than most people were looking for. Yet the euro has turned higher. That's something you should really be taking, to heart right now. Now, is it going to be a negative impact on Mexico and Canada? I think, man, until further notice, I got to be real careful with the dollar Mex and dollar Canada because what we're seeing here is serious disruption. And Ryan, I'm sure you got some things to say about all this, but what do you have to say about all the news that we got yesterday?
I think it's becoming more asset specific. We're probably seeing a bigger move in auto equities, auto stocks than we're seeing in currencies. I've been pointing that out. If you look at dollar CAD and dollar MEX over, the last 3 months, we had big moves on tariff threats and deadlines, then not such big moves on the March deadline, and here you wouldn't even know we've had any headlines. Yes, it was 25% was maybe more than what was expected, but it's not as if this hasn't been threatened for months. It's not as if
but it's becoming real, right?
Well, as real as it became in February and as real as it became in March.
Good point.
And that's what I think I've been saying. That's what the market is seeing out. They're seeing, okay, if we're getting tariffs, we're getting tariffs. We've adjusted to that. The threat now isn't as big as it was before. We've dealt with it. The can could get kicked. The deadline could get kicked. There could be deals done because you still got Mexico, Canada, Germany, all got representatives in Washington at the moment or have been this week. So the market's like, okay, well, there's likely to be a deal. And if tariffs go on, well, we've priced it. So how much more can we price from this? But the proof of the pudding is still in the deadline. We need to get concrete info before we can make any real decisions. But as far as the market now, it's taken it in its stride.
I'll tell you, I got whipped around in this dollar CAD yesterday. I actually shorted it. I shorted here and then I shorted on the break here. And then I covered it for just basically a loss of 7 pips or something like that right here. And then I shorted it again up here. But man, it is a whipping. It's like whipping around. The one thing I want to point out with Canada, though, we broke out of this triangle, what I think is a triangle anyway. We're not able to get much of a lift yet. And I'm worried, though, that this thing might actually just whip higher. I mean, I don't have any Canadian exposure right now. I've kind of closed it because like I said, I got whipped around, lost a little, made a little, and then I'm just like, you know what? I think we all need some clarity probably after April 2nd, I'm assuming. But you guys know I'm a big fan of catching people wrong-footed. That's like my favorite thing as a trader. One of my favorite things. There's a few of my favorite things. One of them would be continuation of trends, trading into flag patterns, pennant patterns, because you can see when something's impulsive and there's a big move behind it. That means there's probably going to be a secondary move behind it. The other thing is when everybody thinks one direction and then all of a sudden it goes the other direction. And that's when you get everybody wrong-footed. And when you see this triangle consolidation and everybody got short or maybe liquidated all the longs, and then if we turn around and go higher, it could be a pretty big rip higher. And I've talked to a lot of Canadians. We have a lot of Canadians in our community. I read a lot of Canadians analysis, like bank analysts. Like Brent Donnelly is a good example. He's one of 4 of them that I actually pay really close attention to. He is a Canadian, and he was just talking about how dire some of these moves could really be for the Canadian economy. And
we've got a Canadian coming up to talk to us. One of the more famous Canadians I know.
Oh, Adam Button. Yeah, Adam. Yeah,
so,
and
so we have a Looney here today. How you doing, Adam?
Yeah,
All right.
I don't know if
He's
he's
here.
listening. And oh, he is. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
You know, and yeah, Adam's a great example. And I think it's one of those situations that, you know, if this war, which, you know, you listen to like Mark Carney's words, you listen to any politician actually in Canada, and you look at like the backlash that we're seeing I would say I live, you know, south of the border. And by the way, any Canadian, which we get a lot of them down here in Phoenix area, they own homes, you know, a lot of British Columbia plates, Ontario plates. Any Canadian drives by me, their cars are filled with tomato stains on the side. People just throw shit at them all day long. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. I wanted to freak out any Canadian, but no, realistically though, like jokes aside, you know, the Canadian attitude that you're seeing is really souring on the US, and it's becoming protectionism at its finest. You know, like don't buy Canadian, or don't buy US, buy only Canadian. I mean, you've got it in the US, you know, buy USA made, blah, blah, blah. But it's really kind of making its way around the world. And that I don't think is a good thing. And that's something that could really have negative effects on economies globally. Anyway, it's just something that we've got to be really, really, really careful with. And I think it could have a very negative impact on the Canadian dollar. At least in the very near term. So just, you know, watch this dollar CAD. Like I said, I don't have any skin in the game right now. I just am very, very cognizant of the price action and the fact that we held some pretty critical support. You can see that green line yesterday. Anyway, we have some data coming up. Ryan, what are you looking at today as I get prepared for GDP? We have unemployment claims. Tomorrow's PCE, obviously, that's going to be more of a market mover. But what are you looking at today? What's hot on your radar today?
Just seeing what fallout we're going to continue with this Trump stuff and what that's going to do for equities and the like. This GDP data is, I think, the final number for Q4. We're 2 days away from ending Q1, so it's old hat. But just keep an eye on it. We know the market's in a bit of a sour mood over all things US. So if it is a bit of a soft one, that's probably going to add to that. Jobless claims, as always, probably nothing's going to happen, but we look for that week where it throws a wobbler and everyone can start panicking about that. But otherwise, yeah, we've got this value date month end. So look at your fixes.
Which tends to be corporate month end is dollar buying usually, right? Usually.
Yeah, that's been the call from a lot of the modelers at the moment. So yeah, keep an eye on the tops of every hour just to see if you get a little funky move, and then obviously the London fix later on, and we'll see what that brings. Yeah, I'm juggling and spinning plates like everyone else.
All right, Dale, what are you hot on today?
I shorted gold at.
Oh, you did, yeah, with a hard money stop.
Yeah.
Good start so far, mate.
Yeah, let's all root for Dale, and let's see gold at 29.55 by the end of the day. How about that?
Yeah, well, I'm getting ready to take partials. So, okay, so I have a lead right away. I want to put something in the bank. I want to bring my stops down once I've done that to protect the remainder. Okay, so that's my style.
Slice and dice, baby. Slice
and dice. That's what we do in our chat room all day long, is slicing and dicing. And by the way, I'm going to stay long euro as long as it doesn't breach the 107.30s that it hit yesterday. I think the euro's going to be trading back above 108 by the end of the day. There's a lot of outside days on these euro crosses, so just keep that in mind. That's a change in direction if you guys haven't looked at any of the daily candles on some of these euro currencies. All right, we're just a couple seconds away from this data, 30 seconds away. I want to thank everybody for being here. But remember, once this data comes out, make sure you all stick around because we do have Adam from Forex Live, some people's favorite Canadians. Favorite Canadian will be coming on. So Adam, we're looking forward to having you here and hearing your insights. So we got the yields to the left, dollar index in the middle, S&P to the right, all 15-minute charts. Here comes the jobless claims and GDP, and watch GDP prices too coming along. Watch this price index.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Here
be better by a point. Jobless
come
claim
on,
platform
dude.
as usual.
Jobless claims are going to be like literally pinned at 220,000 for like ever. But notice that we're seeing a little bit of dollar. Ooh, it's the price index that came down. GDP final, who cares? That's old hat. But the price index, that's coming down a little bit. That gave the dollar a little bit of downside there for a second. But hey, you know
You
what?
on a tick chart again?
Hey, what? Yeah, right. Let's go on a 1 second chart. I'm in on a 1 second chart, guys. So once again, guys and gals, best way to take care of take advantage of volatility, trader funding program. You can actually get instant funding, or you can do a one-step assessment. If you're new, you get a one-on-one session with me. And there's a sale that's going on until the end of the week. That would be tomorrow. So make sure you take advantage of it. Check out the trader funding program. You can find it right here, immediate or one-step assessment. The special is on the one-step assessment, or just join Forex Analytix for $1 for 10 days. And then you can join Ryan, myself, everybody else in the chat room, K-Man, even from Japan. You can join us in the chat rooms there and have this great tool analyzing 30 different instruments, not even all currencies. There's S&P, Boons, Bitcoin, Ethereum. There's a lot of different instruments. The 10-year in here, gold, silver, and then you can watch gold wither away and make Dale a shit ton of money today. Oh, I rhymed, Dale. How did you like that?
Just another, it's good, man. Just another trade.
Thanks. That was out of my ass.
You know what you forget to tell people is that have there been times during the day where you wish you could ask Blake a question, or Ryan or K-Man after F.A.C.E, when you could just jump in and have people for sounding boards? That's really the edge. You could be an observer and you don't have to post, but you could also, have questions answered by traders you respect and learn, and maybe keep you out of trouble. So that's the edge I see.
I mean, this is just, in our trades room. I'm talking to Mohammed this morning about why I placed orders where I placed orders and where. I mean, that's real conversations that you can have with me, Ryan, or anybody else in our chat rooms. So
pay to learn or pay the market. Those are your two choices. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, mate.
I'm glad you showed up on time. If I'm on time, I feel late. If you're on time, you feel real early, right? All right, buddy. Thanks, Blake, and
thanks, Coach.
and great to have my favorite Canadian, Adam Button, here with us. He was here.
Yeah, I don't see. Did he accept your promotion?
I can't do it,
no
Blake,
one, no one ever wants to get promoted ever.
I made you host, so because I wasn't sure about the streaming.
Let me figure out how to do that. Give me 1 second. Adam,
those dots, yeah.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah. So you have to accept the promotion. Come on over, and there he is. He's on his way.
Beautiful.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for your help, Blake.
No, my pleasure. And Adam, great to have you here, buddy.
Hey, thanks. There we go. I can talk now. Glad to have everyone. Thanks for the nice intro, Blake. Dale.
You're welcome. Have a great interview, you guys.
Good to hear. Good to hear your voice, Adam.
Yeah. So, well, listen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot's going down.
A lot is going down.
I didn't mean directionally, but that's happening too. So, what do you have up? Do you have something you want to share?
I don't have anything to share here, Dale. Can you do it?
You know what? There's my TV in 1960.
I don't know why that.
That's a nice test pattern. Anyway, thank you. It brought me back.
I'd see that just before cartoons at like 5 in the morning.
Still do that?
Yeah.
There we go.
So
hey, everyone.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something that we can deal with. Yeah, I'm going to share my chart so we could run around the boards, Adam. What's top of mind for you coming in? We haven't talked for since before the elections, I believe. And
yeah, it was funny. You know, we were talking about, I was messaging with Blake a little while back, saying how bearish I was on CAD all last year.
Yeah.
And you know, we got up to 148 and decided that was enough. Like I honestly have been pretty constructive here on the idea that this tariff war is going to blow over. I mean, every morning you got to wake yourself up and check that, and it's pretty difficult to maintain that. But the market keeps saying the price is going down. I mean, even today, you'd think on these auto tariffs, the market would be crying bloody murder here, but nobody believes it. And you know, April 2nd, it is that it's interesting. Everybody, or a lot of people saying, and everybody's feeling this too. Like, we just want some clarity at this point. Like, I don't want to bail on anything that I really like,
Yeah.
because they get whipsawed then. Because it's you know, you
Everyone's
presume
waiting. Everyone's
that nobody's
waiting.
trying to destroy the economy or destroy General Motors or Ford or whoever. I mean, they're out of business if they have 25% auto tariffs in Mexico and Canada. I mean, that's where the factories are.
Yeah. So, you know, we had this big sell-off, 10% correction in S&Ps. Here's Canada. So do you think that there's still a shot to retest this high,
Well,
or that's
listen,
going to?
it's going to be depending on the news, but I think all else equal. I mean, I'm on board with this, that it's all a bluff, that it all blows over, that we get some good news. I mean, they're talking like all the latest reports are right. Trump's out there saying there's a big improvement on fentanyl, right? So he laid in the groundwork for removing that, which is
Okay.
obviously a canard anyway. And then they talked about only reciprocal tariffs, right? There was this idea they were going to tax like VAT taxes, which I think
Right.
36 out of 37 OECD countries have them. They were going to declare those as tariffs, which is a bizarre logic, but they've sort of gotten away from that. And then if you look at like goods, I don't know, there's a lot of misinformation about, for instance, Canadian tariffs on the US, because there's some escalating things onto everybody protects their agriculture, every country in the whole world. And that's part of the deal. So does the US. But the goods weighted tariff for US goods coming into Canada is 1.1% on all goods coming through. So there's your reciprocal tariff rate. And, you know, whatever, Trump's going to try to push it higher. Maybe that's 5% or 10%, whatever he thinks he can get away with without retaliation. But I think if 10 maybe is problematic, 5 is probably fine. And that's where I'd peg it. And I think the other thing that people have just started really to talk about is what's priced in. And because it's hard, because you go through the research. So Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, they've done a lot of surveys of clients, and they come down around 9 or 10% on the world,
Okay.
and 50% on China, which is a bit of a, you know, it's higher than we're at right now. Another 20 on China almost, and 10 on the world. And then you look at things like CPI, what's priced in, because so you try to game it out that way, and it's
Yeah.
less than that. And then if you try to use the dollar somehow to game it out that way, it's hard to find anything that's priced in. So it's really, really tough to say what's priced in.
How
So the
about
headline
gold?
comes out next Wednesday, and it's
yeah.
10% on the whole world. You know, what do you do?
Yeah.
So I think people need to start thinking about that. And it's even tough then, right? You say, well, 10%, you know, is Canada going to roll over on that, for instance? You'd be tempted to, right? And just move
Yeah.
along, just pay it. On the other hand, so we have an election ongoing here, and it's been, I don't know if you've seen it at all, but the polls have flipped. So the Conservative Party was way ahead, right? They kind of got soft on the US. And then the Liberals went hard on the retaliation. And it's been obviously incredible strategy, because they've turned from desolation to winning a strong majority. So now if you're the Liberals who can retaliate during this election time, and they get the 10% number, well, what's to stop them to say, well, let's just hit back?
They will.
Well, that's what I mean. If you want to win the election, all politicians care about is winning elections.
No, G doesn't care, but he'll hit back.
And so Carney hits back, and, you know, and away we go. So, you know, that I think this Trump administration is trying to say, what's the highest tariff level we can place without retaliation? And that's a judgment call. right? And so there's
Yeah.
obviously going to be mistakes made. And then you wonder if they can bring that back. I think they can reel it in. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it does get lowered to 5. And if we're at 5%, then you want to be short dollar CAD, I think. Canada, everything starts to
It
sell.
looks like 140 is a magnet, and I don't know if it's a correction or not, but that's the way it looks to me right now.
And if you look at Mexico, it's the same thing, because there's also a world where, okay, you get USMCA that's locked down, you get some certainty there, and Trump turns to China, turns to Europe, and starts going hard there. And then you have this sort of protectionist trio that's sort of sheltered from the trade war.
How come the market is only concerned with what we're going to do when really the major impact's going to come from the retaliation of who we're placing tariffs on?
And
And no
Mexico's
one's
been,
talking.
yeah, they've
No,
been very
no,
quiet.
China's not. Yeah, they're not. China's not talking, except they said any war you want to have with us, we're in,
Yeah.
meaning any kind of war. So, China, we're vulnerable. Okay, they're, you know, everything we have,
Well,
they can hurt
50% from
us.
China, 50%. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's tough at
and
Walmart. I mean, how
and
many
we
things?
need, yeah, we need them for pharmaceuticals. If Transformer goes down, we don't make them. All our production is still over there. I know where they want to go in 5 years, but aren't we vulnerable short term to really
Yeah.
be cut off from supplies we need out in retaliation of these tariffs?
Well, that's I think, and I think everybody sits back and says, well, this is stupid, because that's what's going to happen. And you presume that the White House is also saying, yeah, there's a lot of rhetoric. We're going to score a lot of points, and then we're going to, obviously not going to tank the whole world economy and the stock market over this. But
Yeah.
here we are, you know.
What are you
So,
doing? What are you doing in here? Sometimes it's right to be a spectator rather than a speculator. Now, I know we get, people follow us and they want actionable stuff, but sometimes cash is a position.
well, listen, yes, you want to be a hero right now. It's a tough time to be a hero. There's going to be a lot of money to be made in the next 4 years,
I'm
and
shorting
you
gold
know,
today. What do you think?
yeah.
Talking about being a hero.
Well, that's kind of trade tensions coming down. Trade for me, gold right now.
Okay.
Big jump overnight. I'd like to see this trade balance report. So U.S. trade balance came out, as we're talking a bit about data. It was very weak again. I mean, a sequential small improvement.
Yeah.
And I posted about it on our site, but I haven't had a chance to look through the report, because it was very much gold driven last month. And
Okay.
we'll see what drove it this month, because these massive U.S. imports of gold,
Yeah.
which is, people, I quite have a hard time understanding why that's happening. The
Well, the
main,
paper market, they're saying it's the same with silver, that the warehouses were empty and they didn't have the metal
the-
to make deliveries against their paper shorts.
well, so who's taking delivery though, I guess would be the other question. Why are they
Yeah.
taking delivery? And so that's a little bit confusing. And why so suddenly? Right. And there was one fear it was tariffs, like they were going to tariff gold, physical gold, but that just doesn't make any sense to
Hey,
me.
how do you like having a role in the Twilight Zone?
What do you mean?
Ever see the program?
Yeah,
Rod
yeah.
Serling, the Twilight Zone.
How about Black Mirror,
There.
Dale? If you like that one, Black Mirror is great. I mean, the
Oh,
old,
okay. Well, anyway, I'm just saying sometimes it feels that way to me, like
well,
surreal.
yeah, well, I think that's been the bid in gold for the last 6 months, has just
Yeah.
been, maybe since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, that you just need to get some sort of safety. And what a trade
Okay.
it's been. I mean, some of the numbers around gold are, for the last, 20 years, it's outperformed
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's done its
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And listen, then and in the long term, I don't like, because the other side of the trade, say you get Canada, for instance, and this actually really does go off. Well, they're just going to spend like crazy. Same as Mexico. Like, they'll run gigantic deficits. The US, I don't think there are any real fiscal hawks left. We'll see. But Europe's going to spend now.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, the currencies
Well,
aren't worth anything.
let me see if you agree with this statement, because it's a change since we last talked. The euro is the cleanest dirty shirt in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't think about it. I'm not sure I agree with that.
Well, do you still think the dollar is the cleanest dirty shirt?
Well, I guess we come back to gold.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe they're just all shirts with cigarette
I mean,
burn
I
holes
like this
and
price action in sterling, right? There was a lot of angst about the budget yesterday.
the
Still
report
sort of
card.
bouncing around.
Yeah,
This Liz Truss moment. Everybody, it's like generals fighting the last war over and
yeah,
over, worried about any fiscal announcement from the UK. Pound comes off yesterday, comes back all the way today.
yeah, yeah.
Gilt yields have steadied. There's plenty of fiscal space in Britain. Seem to be like walking the Trump line pretty well. And I don't expect huge tariffs on it. Not that it's a massive trading relationship between the two anyway. So they are kind of seem to have carved out a nice spot in Trump's sphere.
Okay.
So I think there is some upside there. Listen, I'd like to see a little more dynamism in the economy, but I could see a little more upside than downside there.
Dollar's really sick because we're getting pretty good pop in yields. I want to ask you about this. The 10-year, this chart item, you see this pivot at 434. I mean, it's been knocking on the door, one false breakout, and here we are above 434. The longer duration is like in a level that should hold, or we could go back to 84 in the bonds. Where are you at on rates
Well,
in the
listen, I
U.S.?
all this tariff talk, right? And that's part of it because you are going to get the stimulus coming out of it. But the elephant in the room is the U.S. budget and the U.S. tax code.
Yeah,
It's incredibly difficult to pay for these tax cuts that are promised right now, especially making them
right,
permanent. But in any case, the you have a slim majority of voters to do it. That's moving pretty slowly here now. And Doge has been getting a lot of headlines, but the numbers are meaningless in terms of savings in the grand scheme of things. So you either have to cut major entitlement programs,
right.
cut to military spending, or run a huge deficit if you want to do this. And I don't know. The tariff numbers, like it's nothing. Even if you tariff every good coming into the U.S. at 100%, it's still not enough. Like these are crazy, crazy deficit numbers. And I keep coming back to the idea, well, they're just going to run huge deficits. I mean, it's not that hard to finance it.
Yeah, I
And
mean
the fiscal
that would be,
hawks, for
yeah,
all the talk they do, they always vote for more deficits.
yeah.
But
We've been hearing the same tune for a generation or so now.
and that's when you get the real push higher in rates. But I think the market's having a hard time. It's more on the economy right now. And I think that's been the trade. You came down in yields on these terrible sentiment numbers from
Yeah,
businesses and consumers. And
yeah,
then you're waiting and waiting and waiting for the real data. And here we are, another week of jobless claims. Not bad. You're going to get a terrible GDP number in Q1, though, but it's mostly on trade. And I think that's pretty much locked in after today's trade balance number. And then you're going to get what? What are we going to see in the economy? Is it going to roll over? Consumer spending looks okay. Target, though, was pretty cautious. In there, that was 3 weeks ago, talking about the consumer there. So we'll see. Some
yeah.
of these things take a little longer to play out, right? And then in hindsight, it looks like, okay, wow. But a lot of it's going to depend on Wednesday. So I think you come back to Wednesday, and if we decide to go pretty hard, then I think you're going to get in a tough spot. And then the other one, you're bringing up stocks here, where if you put up the NASDAQ, and there's a lot of talk about tariffs. Again, they're not that big a deal. They weren't that big a deal in the first administration for all the talk about them. And if one of the lessons from Trump 1, which I'm not sure necessarily applies, but is that all the tariff talk didn't matter. Every tariff headline should have been a fade in Trump 1. Now, these are bigger numbers they're talking about and bigger impacts. But
Okay.
the NASDAQ hasn't fallen this year because of tariffs. It's DeepSeek. And it's AI spend, right? We
I
saw
heard
the
it
note.
was China. I heard it was China liquidation, Adam. When
Well,
we
it could
started
be.
talking,
It's
that's where
super
they were
crowded.
parked, huh?
It's super crowded.
Yeah. That's where
And it's
China
levered long.
parked. Yeah.
And so, and the AI, like it's kind of the AI spend was a lot of driving NVIDIA, right? And these guys are going
Right.
to have a huge moat. So Microsoft was going to spend $1 trillion. Apple, everyone was going to build all these data centers, and then no one was going to be able to compete on AI. And these guys were basically going to own AI. Well, then DeepSeek comes out and says, well, actually, you can have it on your own computer for pennies to run it. And
That changed
that's
the game.
becoming more and more clear that there's no moat here. So, the trade is going to transition from who's going to have AI, because the answer is everyone, and it's not going to be that expensive, to what companies are going to use it and how they're going to use it and how we're going to reshape the economy with it to make things more productive, which is we're in between those two things now because you need to get the robots rolling out or you need to get all these things happening. And I don't think, any of these mega cap tech companies are going to have companies over a barrel and extracting all the profits from that. It's actually going to be, I think, the companies are actually
commoditized. AI, it will be commoditized. Like everything.
And that's good, right? If you back it out to the big economy, okay, the profits aren't all going to be in Microsoft and mega cap tech. It's going to be in the companies that are, unfortunately, you're going to have less workers, but it gets spread out. But then you're trying to game it out. Well, you're going to lose a lot of employment. So that kind of hurts the demand side.
Yeah.
And then we're just sort of in between there. Okay, what are you going to bet on? Are you going to bet on like Caterpillar having self-driving trucks that mine the mine for you? You know what I mean? Like what real world economy companies, factories or whatever. And you're not going to make a bet on factories right now. So you don't have any bets to make. And so we're in this spot right now. And that, I think you get a bear market a lot longer from here in mega cap tech.
All right. So do you think, all we were able to do so far on this bounce was 38%. Do you think there's another wave? Well, that's tactical.
No, I think you got the right chart up there, though, right?
Yeah,
Don't
but this is NASDAQ, the daily, NASDAQ 100. So we had this big break. Is the top in, and you have to keep selling rips for lower numbers?
But that's I think you got the exact chart there. I mean, I haven't looked at this chart, but you should use a Fibonacci on that. Pretty aggressive sell-off. And then was that the 200-day there?
Yeah.
Tops right out there and at 38. Like, come on, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
And now you're turning lower. Today might be another bloodbath. I don't know why things are doing as well as they are, but we'll see here.
Because maybe you could extend it, a little higher. 5920 was pretty big in the S&Ps, but you're right. NVIDIA took it on the chin while the market was strong this week.
And I think the market thought it sent it's like the Fed, right? When you need cuts and the Fed won't cut, the market just keeps kicking and screaming until you get it. And then the Fed listens. And it's going to be the same thing with tariffs here, maybe. If
dollar looks sick, what a weak bounce. And it looks like it could be terminating.
Wow.
I thought maybe we'd get to 4.5, 480. I don't know. Very quiet. I was looking at my screen the other day, Adam, and you know how you get a feeling for how things trade. There's kind of a flow to it.
Yeah.
And like right now, I'm looking at the euro, and it's not even changed. Oh, there's a change. But you would have instantaneous changes. And now it's just sitting there at 88, hardly moving, 88, hardly trading. What do you attribute to this? Is this all just because no one wants to make any commitments, not just business, but even traders until April 2nd? Because it feels eerily quiet to me.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, especially today, given the news we got. And I think that people would like to react to this, but then you say, well, it does seem oddly came out of nowhere. Escalate to de-escalate, right? That's the doctrine. So you threaten all this, and then you extract. I think you're trying to extract maximum concessions before April 2nd. And my view is on auto. So Europe has already signaled they'll drop U.S. auto tariffs. I mean, they signaled it in early January. The top trade people there will say we'll drop U.S. auto tariffs, right? So they come out and announce that maybe on the weekend, and then we pull the whole thing back by Wednesday. Trump says he got them to drop the tariffs with this, declares victory, and away you go. That makes sense to me, but at some point, you don't have, and so even if you're bullish, that's hard to really say. Because now you're looking at South Korea, you're looking at the rest of the world. I mean, that's a lot of deals you need to make. But I think we got to watch Ford, GM today. Like, as I said, they're
Okay.
cooked if people think this will continue. And you just can't believe they're going to cook those companies.
Yeah, it's
Unless they want to hand it to Tesla. I don't know. Is that a tradable? You just destroy traditional American auto manufacturing and hand it all to Tesla?
well, the one thing that has been going right up until recently has been the decline in oil prices, which is, drill, baby, drill, whatever. But, I believe that we're on the cusp of military action towards Iran. And I think there's three aircraft carriers there now. Trump has given them an ultimatum. He fined China for refining Iranian oil. He's saying to the Houthis, when you fire a missile at our ships, it's like Iran. It's their missiles shooting at us. I heard that Israel was active, very unusually active in almost every country in the Middle East. To me, it seems like it's brewing. Ideally, I would wanted to see one more low in crude and then just buy calls. But I do think this has been Netanyahu's life mission. President Trump believes the Iranian government, and I'm talking regimes here,
Mhm.
um, want to knock him off. He's not a real forgiving guy.
Well, they're weakened
So
right now. Where they're weakened, right? And Netanyahu, he's weakened and needs this. So listen, everything you're saying makes sense, and I think it's crossed everybody's mind. But then you think, okay, how far are they willing to go? I mean, you're going to invade Iran? Like I think that's up. So you're going to do airstrikes.
yeah, that's
What are
it.
you going to do with the airstrikes? You're going to just destroy their oil industry? I could see that. And I get what you're saying. You can cut off 2 million barrels a day in exports. There's no way oil's going. I think they have to know, and you hear Basent saying we got to get oil prices down and rates are going to follow. But there is no, like, you're not getting them below 65. You're not.
Okay.
Like, there's no money to be made. There's no drill, baby, drill. There's no world where there's regulations. Like, there's not that many regulations. These companies have these huge land packages
So
and they frack there. They frack.
Basent
That's it.
needs,
Like,
yeah,
there's nothing stopping them from doing more. Yeah, there's the tiniest little things, but price is 99% of everything that they're dealing with. So you're not getting low, but maybe you want more oil production, right? And how
yeah.
do you do that? You obviously have to, if you take out Iran, then the US can fill in that gap. And you get a lot of benefits from that. But I'm on board with higher, but not if you slam the economy.
Well, isn't that what they're going to need to do to get yields down? Is that they need a recession, and that possibly all this jawboning is to take overvalued equity prices down so that there is a recession and they
Yeah, I
get
mean,
rates
listen,
down?
I've heard that call too. It just seems stupid to me, though. I mean, that is a really dumb game to play.
Well,
There may be people there who think they can do this, right? We'll bring it
yeah,
down and then we'll take it back up and it'll be
yeah.
different. But you start a recession or you start doing these things in Iran or wherever in the world. I mean, there's no way you can game all this. So same as the economy. Once
You
layoffs
break
start,
it, you own it. You break it, you
well,
own it.
that's and even I'm going to take down the market and buy it cheaper. I mean, go ahead and dick around in the crypto market if they want to do that with the whatever the hell they're trying to do there.
Well, how many fart coins did you buy for your
Well,
kids?
yeah, the Trump coin or the Melania coin and all this joke. So, I mean, yeah, go ahead and jerk around and insider trade there. But to try to do that in the real economy, I mean, the midterms aren't that far away. You're gonna really screw up if you try to do that.
Well, you know what? I know a lot of people in the trading community, Americans, and you will always be a friend, no matter who the regime is. I think that's the worst part of it, is dividing people who were friends.
Yeah. Well, listen, it'll all blow over. It always all blow. And that, I think there's been so much alpha in markets forever and just saying, let's just have a beer, wait for this whole thing to blow over. If you panic on every Zika virus or Ebola or
Yeah.
every bird
Bird flu.
flu,
Yeah.
every, oh, when Iran, all the, what was the ultimate impact of all this, Gaza, Israel? I mean,
Yeah.
most of the Trump headlines, you fade the fear.
Yeah.
And we're probably approaching maximum fear. You would like to have a little bit more of a dip to fade, which kind of makes me nervous because if this is max, you want to see, and you have to believe there's a Trump put. You have to. You even saw it last week when we were at the lows in the NASDAQ. Like the TV networks get kicking and screaming when the market's down 10, 15%.
Yeah.
And that, I think that you just wait for the kicking and screaming. And
Yeah.
because they're not gonna kill the market. They won't.
Okay.
But listen, I could be an idiot
This
on
was a
April
buying
2nd.
up. I know a lot of guys looking for new all-time highs that say this was it, and they've been right before. But just
But
my
the NASDAQ,
training.
I think the NASDAQ is different though. It is in a tough spot with this AI trade. And that
Yeah.
kind of sometimes market moves can become narrative.
Yeah.
And that, so I hate to be too bullish on the Mag 7. And
Yeah.
you
Well, I
have a lot
am.
of cheap stuff elsewhere.
I mean, look, here's a leader, Apple. The miners have actually been the best group to be in. Look at how these silver stocks
But we
took
didn't
off.
get to the silver and gold miners are cheap. Copper, we've been talking about for
Yeah,
years, Dale. It's having a day
yeah,
in the sun.
yeah.
Um,
They're acting okay.
well,
You
we'll
know,
get some American style state
but
capitalism at the end of this. Huge deficits.
here's GDX, new all-time highs.
Yeah, the miners have been a
Not
heck of a place
all-time
to hide
highs,
out.
but they're acting great. So I want people to follow your writings, your videos, everything at Forex Live, Adam, and anything new since you and I have talked
Yeah,
on the
no,
site.
buddy, just head down, just live blogging on the world as it unfolds. So I really enjoy it. And I think if you're looking for headlines, I mean, and nobody, you talk to people, they're like, I don't even know where the tariff thing's at. I don't know where this is at. We know where it's at. Like the guy who is on every headline, every development will tell you what's priced in the latest developments. And that right now is, I think, a pretty valuable thing because it's tough to stay on top of every angle
Yeah,
that's coming out. And so that's what we're doing. I think we're providing a pretty valuable service right now. It don't always have the answers, but at least we'll tell you what's in the market in terms of news. And once in a while, and more frequently than ever right now, you can get an edge from just sitting at the desk and waiting for the next headline. And I enjoy that. So that's what we're going to do for the next foreseeable future. And
yeah. Good to love what you do. Comes across too.
yeah, well,
You
you
know.
try to keep the stress level down, Dale. I think that's
Yeah,
the key, and try to stay, try not to freak out over every headline. They are making it pretty tricky right now, but
yeah. Having a decent year. So give me your highest conviction trade between now and say summer. We just started spring.
I mean, I got a lot of China right now. It's been
Okay.
listen, if we talk about what we do at Forex Live and DeepSeek, like the day it came out, I figured this was, and if you read, I would love to post it here, but this is a China trade. It's not anything else. It's a China trade. And they're pretty well insulated from a lot of especially the China tech companies. They don't do business in America. And they're having a moment right now. There's a lot of Chinese money that's looking for a home. I don't know. That is
Very good.
probably it's a safe place to camp out, strangely, right now.
Well, it seems like
But
everyone repatriating everything that I don't think a weak dollar is risk on anymore.
Yeah.
Because its money flows away to other markets. Do you think that's changed?
Yeah, well, it had that. I mean, we had a good 15-year run on risk on, risk off, right? And
Yeah,
now you get the odd day where you can kind of write a tidy narrative with it. But we had some days, NASDAQ down 2% and the euro's
yeah,
up.
right.
And dollar yen, yeah, still tracks it pretty closely, but even there, you're seeing signs of inflation.
Yeah,
And so that may Swiss franc, maybe I guess you still can still do that, but it isn't what it was. It is, and it's kind of nice, right? Because you can pick and choose rather now than knee jerk knowing exactly what to
yeah,
do.
yeah. There's a little bit more differentiation
Yeah,
instead
and
of everything moving like one market.
if you go with the tech bust, right? The US dollar was super strong ahead of the dot-com bust. It was very strong ahead of the housing bust. And then we saw that huge risk off and the dollar down. So I,
Okay.
I, I believe in that it was a fun run on the risk on, risk off. But
Okay. So, what's a high conviction trade? Bearish. I'd say bearish a dollar going under par for me.
yeah, I listen, you got to have conviction, whatever it is you're in right now. That's for sure. And you've got to find it. And I think you got to be a little bit nuts to have super high conviction in a lot of things right now.
You know
Because
what? I
I,
agree
I
with you.
don't, I don't.
That's all right. That's fair. All right. So,
Nice
here's
one.
a guy who really knows the market,
Listen,
and and he's not plunging.
I seeing
That
all
should
these
be,
comments coming in as we're talking. There's such a great community you have here, and there's some really nice ones
yeah,
reading them as they were coming in. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
interesting
All
times.
right. Well, you're people like you, Adam, and I'm grateful that you come and talk to us every quarter.
Yeah.
And when you do it, you always step up for me if I need a guest to come in here. So I'm a fan too. Besides all the guys out there, I'm your
Well,
fan,
thanks,
bro.
Dale. And you know what, people get pretty excited right now, but the countries, all that, it's all bullshit. Just take care of yourself and your family, and especially your family and your friends and whatnot. And that's the name of the game in markets. This ain't
Yeah,
Nobody needs to wave the flag. So find something
yeah.
that's going to make you money and sop it away because nobody's going to be there for you at the end of the day.
Amen.
But
All right.
yeah, take care of everyone. Take care.
All right. Well, my
Thanks for
trading
having me.
warrior brother, Adam Button, you could tell I've never seen Adam this animated in a long
Is
time.
that right?
Yeah, he really animated today, man. This thing is, you could say, don't let it affect you, all these things detach. But the reason we're saying that is because it affects us. So we're trying to say don't let it affect you, but it does in our business. It's hard to get away from it.
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, sorry.
you just
But
have
that's
to
when
have,
I think that's when the money's to be made is you really gotta look through the signal and the noise because
yeah.
a lot of this stuff, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't trade with your heart
Yeah,
on, a bear market isn't because Trump's president, or a bull market isn't because Trump's president, and a bear market under Biden or bull, it's trade price, not
yeah.
your political
Well, that
party.
was a good chart you had up on the NASDAQ. I learned something from that one today too. I'm
All right,
gonna
all right,
steal that one on you, Dale. Sorry.
all right. Go ahead. I'll drop you a link, bro. All right.
All right.
Take it easy, Adam.
See ya.
All right, so that's a wrap, everyone. Join the team in 7 minutes on the Morning Edge, and see everyone for TGIF tomorrow. Adios. Everyone's thanking you. Okay. All right. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Adios.